minute then?
I mean, I did hear June that Shira was planning on coming. I heard June was planning on coming through another one, June and Woody.
Yeah.
We've got 3 coming in right now.
Okay.
All right. We've got 4 coming in. Good morning.
Hello.
Oh, fashionably late, I see.
No.
You guys are okay?
Happy to have you.
I'm glad to be here, you betcha. You betcha.
Good things come for those who wait.
Heck yeah.
Morning.
I don't know what to do with that.
Available for somebody else.
Long time, buddy.
Nice to meet you. I believe.
Hey, did you see they put the stop sign on Broadway and Camino Colegio over by some? They put a stop sign there. That's even better than what we wanted.
He's quite an
Then we wanted flashing lights for the pedestrians. But they
Look
put
forward to
stop signs.
knowing more about him. I just sent him an email.
He's been
I
hanging
think
out with
so.
me and Woody a lot.
Yeah, I just saw that yesterday. It's like, yay.
All right, then. I'll call this meeting to order. This meeting of the Sonoma County Climate and Transportation Authority Climate Action Advisory Committee. I'm Tom Conlon. I'm the chair of this committee, and I will ask for introductions of my fellow committee members. Start with you.
Hi, my name is Chris Grable. I was appointed by Councilmember Okrepke to represent Santa Rosa, and just wanted to say hello to everyone, and it's an honor to be here. I work for the County of Sonoma, for the Board of Supervisors and County Executive's Office, and I also teach in fire and climate resilience at the junior college. And been a passionate climate advocate for a long time, mostly because, you know, anyone who wants to live on a planet and whose children may or may not have a viable planet, sort of a sine qua non to prioritize climate action. So I'm happy to be here and happy to listen and learn from you all.
Welcome.
And a bird watcher too. Chris helps lead the West County Christmas bird count. Co-compiler. David Leland, City of Sonoma.
Neil Hancock, City of Sonoma.
Andy Schrader, City of Petaluma.
Shirley Johnson, City of Rohnert Park.
June Brashears, District 5, County of Sonoma.
And then online, we have. Go ahead, Pete.
Pete Gang, Petaluma.
And
Nick Thayer, District 5.
great. Thank you very much. And I'm Tom Conlon, representing District 3.
Yeah, I went.
Would you like to do introductions in the?
And then members of our staff. Thank you.
Good morning, Tanya Narath with the SCTCA.
Russ Clendenin, SCTCA, and I'll pass the mic down here.
Audience,
Audience. Get you on.
I'm Alan Nauman, and I'm doing my homework. This is right in my wheelhouse, so thanks for being here.
Maureen Bentley, Santa Rosa, member of the public and interested party.
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm Anna Oliva, SCTCA staff member, and I serve as our Bay Area Regional Energy Network, or Bay Run representative.
Hi, I'm Al Wellman, a retired civil engineer here in Santa Rosa. I'm working with the Citizens Climate Lobby.
Hi, Al. I'm Woody Hastings. Day job is at the Climate Center. And then I also volunteer as the coordinator of the coalition opposing new gas stations.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is BC Capps, Climate Programs Manager here at SCTCA.
And Dawn. Okay, very well. Now I'll take public comment. Any members of the public who wish to speak to a matter that's not on our agenda today? And I do hope you'll keep it short. We have a big agenda. Come forward now into the microphone if you have anything to say. If not, we'll ask online. I don't see any members of the public online. So we will close public comment and move on to our administrative agenda, which would be approval of our March 13 meeting notes. Any motions or discussion about those minutes?
I just have an edit. I was here and the minutes don't reflect that.
Thank you. I see staff nodding that will be corrected. So then I would ask for a motion for approval of the minutes so amended.
So moved. I'll second.
Neil seconds. Any discussion? Thank you. Let's do, I guess, a roll call vote, including our committee members online.
Jane Elias. Not here. Ryan Martin Dent. Neil Hancock.
Yes.
Stephanie Turk. Emily Vigil. Andy Schrader.
Aye.
Pete Gang.
Here.
Is that a yes or a no?
Yes.
Steve Keith. Yes. Shirley Johnson.
Abstain.
Chris Grable.
Abstain.
Andres Correa. Zeno Swedzik. Josh Osomni. David Leland.
Yes.
Corey Lucas. Christopher Peck. Tyler Sylvie. Tom Conlon.
Yes.
Jake McKenzie. Nick Thayer.
Yes.
June Brashares.
Yes.
That's everybody.
Very well. I heard no no's. I heard at least one, maybe two abstentions. But I believe that means the matter carries. So thank you for that. Now we'll move on to item number 4, the report out from our member jurisdictions. And I think we'll start here in the room. And I'd like to start to my left. We'll go around that way.
Go ahead and pass.
Okay, June passes to Steve. Steve, do you have an update from your part of the world?
City of Rock Park continues to install solar panels. They have already completed a project at the community center, and the project at the library is about halfway to completion, a little bit ahead of schedule.
Thank you. Let's see, Shirley, you should go next.
There it is. Okay. You can still hear me, but I'm still in my future voice. Thank you. I don't know what I was messing with it, then I screwed it up. Okay, so yesterday I went to the Zero Waste Symposium at Somo Village. Way cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and there was a good showing of folks there. So if you get a chance to look at, maybe they have some PowerPoints or something. And they did say we do have a compost coming up over by the airport, right? You guys are all aware of that. So that's kind of exciting to not be shipping all that stuff out of town. And the UGB, I didn't make it to the city council meeting, Steve. Maybe you did. It was at the end of April for the UGB 2040. Runner Park. Well, anyway, the FEIR is out, and I haven't had a chance to look at it, so I'll have a report back later.
And that's the city of Rohnert Parks.
Yeah, City of Rohnert Park. Sorry, I should have been clear. Yeah, the general plan. Yeah, not the urban growth. Yeah, yeah, the general plan.
You're talking about the general plan?
2040, 15 years. Yeah.
Correct.
Do you have any updates on that?
About.
Very well. And, Jake normally would remind us
Yeah.
that was pending. So thank you for that. Andy, go ahead.
So the collaborative messaging campaign that we presented, I guess last January, a year ago, January, is still moving forward in the city of Petaluma. We're going to be presenting where we are with that at the the Petaluma Climate Action Commission next Thursday. I don't remember what time that starts, but in the evening. The Green Business cohort is meeting on Tuesday, May 12th at 6 p.m. to celebrate the businesses who have completed their green business certification. If any businesses are interested, please pass that along. We've got a book reading from the new book, Compassion in Crisis, Building Disaster Resilient Communities, coming up on May 19th at Copperfields at 7 p.m. and the authors will be there. And there's a Rethink Consumption workshop on May 27th at 6 p.m. at Porches.
Yes, hi, Neil Hancock. I apologize. I actually represent the city of Cotati. I made a mistake there. In Cotati, we've actually got a roundabout that is progressing on the west side of town, Highway 116 and West Cotati Avenue, but we've done a little bit of analysis that I've promoted about safety for pedestrians crossing that. So that's within the city of Cotati as that discussion is ongoing. Thank you.
I had nothing specific to report from Sonoma, but I did ask questions at the last meeting about legislation. And now I have a couple of pieces of legislation that I learned about from the Climate Center, and a third one that I've been kind of interested in separately that I'll just mention. SB 913, which has to do with integrating clean energy into the power grid. That includes people's home batteries and electric vehicles. It's up. I'll get back to that. And then Senate Bill 1282, which among other things includes allowing the Energy Commission to compel new cars to have bidirectional charging capabilities, which would then enable them to be part of to become part of a virtual power plant kind of scene and deliver power back to the grid at times of peak demand. So these, both of these have a relationship to the peak demand problem of being, of having to have often still fossil fuel power plants, natural gas mostly these days, as I understand it, available in peak hours from 4 to 9 to cover air conditioning and people's increased usage at that time of day, and to be able to mitigate that and reduce that with all of the capacity that is now out there in people's batteries in their cars. Both of those apparently have a hearing in the Senate on the 11th, which would be Monday. Let's hope that they move through the process. The third one is a Scott Wiener bill, SB 868, which is about balcony solar, which is something that is becoming increasingly popular, widely used in Europe, apparently. And my understanding again is that something on the order of 20 or maybe more states at this point have either moved towards or are very close to permitting, to creating a system where balcony solar can be implemented on people's homes. So that's a very democratizing thing relative to people in rental situations or even apartment situations being able to generate some of their own power on their own premises. Balcony solar being, plug-in solar units that don't require any complicated new wiring necessarily. Sometimes they will, but that are very easy to deploy. And the issue has been, as I understand it, that the investor-owned utilities have treated each of these solar panels as if they were a full-scale power plant, having to go through the entire permitting process at what would become, of course, a ridiculous expense. So this Wiener bill is intending to address those obstacles. That one apparently was supposed to have a hearing on April the 20th and has been put into suspense. I don't know what the background is, but it sounds like there's been some problem And I can't tell you what that is. So anyway, that's it from me.
Great. Thank you, David. Chris, go ahead.
I'll defer.
We'll go online to, let's have Pete first and then Nick. Any updates from you, Pete?
Sorry, I've had my audio off. In contrast to my tradition, I have nothing to report on.
Well, congratulations. Appreciate that. Nick, go ahead.
I got nothing.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for those updates. Does any member of the public want to address specifically something? We're going to have a session later on legislations as part of the update on SCTCA climate change activities. But if anyone from the public wishes to make a brief statement now, I entertain that. Thank you.
Thanks. Good morning again. Again, Woody, for the record, Woody Hastings, just here as a resident of Sonoma County. I wanted to thank Mr. Leland for bringing up the, a couple of them are Climate Center sponsored bills. Some of them we're supporting. And just, I wanted to let folks know, the public, anyone here, if you go to our website, I'm not just plugging this to plug it. It's that if you go to our website, there's a what we do, and then there in that there's a bill tracker. You can go to that, the bill tracker, click on those bills for each one. It's just clicking through and it'll send a support letter to your elected representative. We're lucky here in Sonoma County. We have great delegation in the Senate and the Assembly. So they're either they're either the authors or they're co-authors or they're strong supporters of the legislation. So SB 913, yes, that one's actually all about this funky thing, resource adequacy, making sure there's enough power. So, but it's you articulated them all well. Thank you. And 1282, we've been working on getting bidirectional vehicles, as a required thing in the state for a while. Balcony solar, you might think it's peanuts, but you know what? Germany, they have about 1 million balcony solar systems deployed, about 1 gigawatt of power. It's not nothing. It adds up. It's important. It's a lot of apartments, a lot of balconies. So that's an important piece of legislation to follow. Anyway, just the main thing I wanted to know is folks can click through and support these bills. Thank you.
Mr. Hastings, we just please stay there because I realized that before I close this item, I forgot to give any update on activities either from District 3 or Sonoma. I saw some heads moving in the back. So thank you for that. I'll briefly say that in the city of Sonoma, we now have a new acting city manager, Christine Ailovich, who previously was in San Rafael. And we also have I think I may have mentioned this before, a new half-time sustainability coordinator who's now overseeing our Climate Action Commission. And we've established 3 ad hoc groups within that commission, one to work on metrics for tracking our climate action plan, our climate action strategies. We'll be coordinating with our CPA and others, the Vision Zero team, et cetera. We also have a second ad hoc on adaptation. We've looked through our climate action plan and realized it's very mitigation and a little bit drawdown focused, but has almost nothing about adaptation. Adaptation is only thought of as a co-benefit of what are otherwise mitigation measures. And so we've begun looking at the local hazard mitigation plan, the multi-jurisdiction plan that Sonoma is part of, has been published now and is out for, I guess the public comment period has ended, but the negotiation between the city, the county, and the state Office of Emergency Services is underway right now. And we've reached out to them to see if we might have input into that process. And then finally, we also have a new education, community engagement and outreach. I may have gotten those words a little wrong. but the function is to basically get the word out about what we're doing at the commission. And they recently hosted a trash and fashion show on Earth Day, or associated with Earth Day. And then this body will meet on Wednesday of next week. We also have lots of new action on traffic calming, although I'll say I think we've had a number of continuing to have pedestrian incidents. There was another hit and run on Brano Avenue, and we're looking into those, trying to make it safer to move around our community. We have a new parks director, and there's a lot of activity in that area now. And we recently completed a tree inventory and canopy study. So we're starting to look at both sequestration as well as shade. That's one of the ancillary benefits of that measure that's in our existing plan. And so that's an update from the city. And then for District 3, I'll just say it's I think the transit issues are really intense right now. We have a fiscal cliff happening in transit funding nationwide, but also in the region. And perhaps we'll be able to talk about that when we get into the letters that are in the packet later on and in the board packet that's for the SCTCA board next week. With that, I'll invite in members of the public if there's anything else to add on that, just open that up briefly. And if there's not, we'll close this item.
I have something to add real quick.
Go ahead, Nick.
Since you mentioned that hit and run, somebody was also hit and killed by a truck in Guerneville, I think on Tuesday morning, drunk driver. So yeah, we need safe pedestrian infrastructure and public transit.
Thanks, Nick. And that is something we're seeing in SCTCA's survey of community concerns, is that safety is very high on the list, and something that the staff I know is working very, very much on. And we're also seeing that there is increasing funding to try and work on these problems, but infrastructure is very expensive, and everyone's working on aware of these problems. Go ahead, Shirley.
The roadway downtown there, is that where the accident happened?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, geez, I'm sorry. Okay. Can I borrow yours? I noticed that they're doing a lot of road work downtown Guerneville. Is that where the accident happened, where the fatality happened?
It was in that stretch, but it was not related, at least directly, to the new blinking or flashing pedestrian signals they put in Guerneville. It happened. The driver was turning from First Street onto 116, which is a new stoplight, but it was always a stoplight. But it was in the construction stretch. Yeah.
Thank you for that. We're going to close this item, and any announcements we might have, we can put to the end of the agenda. All right, then we'll move on to item number 5, our gas station ban update. We're going to get an update from BC Caps.
Hello again. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is BC Caps, Climate Programs Manager here at SCTCA. Wanted to give a brief update at the last, and actually at the last 2 meetings of this body. There was a request for us to provide an update on the gas station bans around the Sonoma County and some recent public hearings or input sessions that have been held by 2 jurisdictions. So I just wanted to provide just kind of a brief update as we understand it. So for historical purposes, I wanted to point out that in March 2021, the city of Petaluma was the first jurisdiction in the country, actually, to adopt a ban on the construction of new gas stations. And then following that, in September of 2021, the board of directors of RCPA adopted a resolution encouraging other jurisdictions to follow through and also adopt bans. Following that, there was kind of consultation and action that was taken by the City of Cotati, City of Rohnert Park, City of Santa Rosa, City of Sebastopol, Town of Windsor, and the County of Sonoma, all who adopted bans on the construction of new gas stations or the expansion of existing infrastructure. In most of those ordinances, there was language that was written in having to do with safety issues or things that needed to be due to kind of for cleanup of issues. But the main restriction was no new gas station expansion of equipment for new pumps or new tanks. Following that, in January of this year, the City of Santa Rosa held a study session with their city council that was to evaluate options for amending their ordinance based upon a request that had come in from the existing Costco gas station on Santa Rosa Avenue, who at the time was exploring what it would take if they wanted to relocate their existing fueling infrastructure to a slightly different location. My understanding is that there was not a specific proposal or not a specific application that had been filed with the city, but that it was an exploratory conversation that had happened between Costco and the City of Santa Rosa, and that the city then held a study session. That study session was in January. There were no conclusions that came out of it and no additional direction that was given to staff at that time, with the acknowledgement being that there was no current application for changes that had been submitted. And at the point that there was an application submitted, it would come back to the city for an official discussion. And so the discussion in January was really discussion only with no further action. Following that, we received notice from the Town of Windsor that they were also interested in having a study session to receive input from the City Council to what it would take to modify their ban if they wanted to do that in the future. It was requested by at least 2 of the council members at a previous meeting, and then that study session happened on Wednesday evening of this week. And the discussion there seemed to really focus on the city looking, or the Town of Windsor wanting to look at all available options for revenue generating activities that would help support the city's general fund. And one of the options that is being considered, or at least hypothetically on the table, is if they could attract a new major retailer to the north part of Windsor, the area around Arata Lane, and whether or not that would then buy a new retail development there, of which the town would get tax revenue from sales at that location, would help city finances. The detail in that is the fact that the leading option for a retailer such as that would also be Costco. And the new model with Costco is really these large big box locations that include fueling stations. And so again, there's no actual application from Costco or any other retailers, no active applications for expansion of gas pumps, fueling stations within the town, but it was brought back to the council for at least discussion. There were 5-member council, and at the discussion on Wednesday, 1 member was absent. 2 of the members appeared to really support the ban as it was. And 2 of the members were very interested in exploring further what it would take to either keep the ban in place, but allow for a one-time exception or some sort of conditional use exemption that would allow a development such as that The other option that was discussed was what would take is if the town council wanted to rescind the ban in totality and then readopt something else that was less stringent but allowed for a major development like that to come into town. A lot of the initial focus was really on the tax increment that would come from new gas taxes. And I think in the course of discussion, it came out that that's not really what the city is looking at. They're not worried about the small percentage that comes from gas taxes. They're looking at the much larger pie that would come from a large retail development, of which a potential kind of auxiliary use would be those gas pumps. So at the conclusion of the meeting, there were two council members that basically asked staff to go back and do more research on these options. It was then, and it was kind of left for, and I do not think there was no kind of date given on that, on when they would come back and receive another report. But that is kind of my understanding of kind of where things sit with the town of Windsor. We're aware of no other towns or either the county or any of the other cities in the county that are considering kind of rescinding their bans at this point. But at least at this point, just wanted to reiterate, City of Santa Rosa had their discussion and it's just sitting in place. Town of Windsor had their discussion and staff will be coming back with some additional options for the council to consider at a future date. There are more details that I go into, but I think that's a good overview to kind of get us started. And I'll leave it at that and take any questions. And then I also know that there are at least one member of the public here who'd like to speak on this item when comments are appropriate.
Fantastic summary, much better than what we had in the paper. I mean, although that's obvious, you know, it dovetails with what was in the paper. So thank you for that additional light. Any comments from commissioners? I see Andy.
I'm just curious if gas station is a requirement to bring in a Costco, or can a Costco show up without a gas station?
I think that's a Costco business decision. The one fact I know is that the majority, I am aware of other developments of Costco that are under consideration, and all of them include an auxiliary facilities that have fueling stations. So I don't know if that's across the board at all new Costcos that are being developed, or if that's just kind of what is I'm aware of in the local scene, but it seems to be, at least from some members of the town council, there seems to be that their fear is that by having a gas ban, it is kind of precluding any engagement with Costco or other retailers of that sort that would do this. So,
thank you.
Any further comments from our commissioner or from our council members, our committee members? I'll just say, BC, I'll admit I'm a customer of Costco, and I know that Costco values the reputation of their brand quite a lot. And I know that this matter got a lot of the gas station, new gas station and expansion moratorium, got a lot of press nationwide. And it would be ironic that it would be Costco, which I still personally hold in high regard, were to, in my mind, sully that reputation by expanding gas stations access. It would be wonderful, and I think synergistic with the brand that I trust, if they were to really get into their, into their books and figure out if selling electric vehicles and making electric vehicle charging available as an alternative to essentially cannibalizing gasoline sales from the existing facilities that are already in the general North County area. I don't see Costco alone expanding gas capacity. That was one of the principles of why we passed the ban in the first place, is that, and in fact, if I think about the way we allow vehicle miles traveled analysis, retail is treated differently because it's assumed that new retail is not expanding consumer activity so much as it is moving vehicle miles traveled from one place to another. And I think the same thing could be probably said for gasoline sales. So those are my thoughts at this point. I haven't participated in the process. We in Sonoma do not yet have a ban. It is on our work plan to consider it this term. And I'll keep you posted on how that moves forward. I believe there's 2 other jurisdictions in the county that have, one determined not to move forward on a ban, and one that is still, Healdsburg, I believe, has not taken any action.
Correct.
Very well.
If I can,
please.
I realized there was one other subtlety to the discussion at the town of Windsor on Wednesday, and that was actually members of the council themselves as town residents, as elected officials, elected members, acknowledging themselves, they on a weekly basis were driving south to Santa Rosa to shop at Costco, fill up their gas, fill up their tanks. And they themselves were very aware of the retail leakage that was going to other towns, and they themselves were participating in it. And so I think that there was kind of that also personal connection, or that personal nexus with members of the council who were seeing their own kind of actions as part of the, and again, I think the issue at heart is not necessarily the gas stations. The issue at heart is retail tax sales, is retail taxes and the ability to pay for city services.
That makes sense to me. And I think that the economic development opportunity of a new retailer, I can see how that is an important draw. But it's good that we are thinking of the gasoline sales portion as separate from that. That's our current policy in Windsor and elsewhere in the county. Chris, you had a comment?
A question, yeah, just if y'all could educate me on, for SCTCA, is there any authority or a recommendation? What's the relation between SCTCA and some of the municipalities and their own bans, policies, whatever their jurisdictional limitations are?
Our board of directors is made up of elected officials from each of the cities and and 3 members of the board of supervisors.
Right.
All of the actions taken by, specifically on this issue, by kind of our board are advisory and recommendations to the city councils and the city and the county. And then the final decision is really their choice entirely. And so I think this followed a very similar model that we followed in other aspects. There was one jurisdiction that moved forward with an idea. They came to this body that kind of said, we think this can be replicated. Our SCTCA or RCPA kind of adopted a resolution recommending it, but in a non-binding fashion. And then kind of why we were available at a staff level to provide additional information. But all of the actual discussions and decisions were all handled individually at each jurisdiction.
Great, BC. Thank you. Oh, Nick has a comment online. Go ahead, Nick.
Hi. Yeah, I guess I'm not really clear, and maybe BC or anybody else knows. There's so many other retailers. Why is Windsor considering bending over backwards to repeal this ban just to bring in Costco? With their potential gas station that wouldn't even bring new gas tax revenue because it would just be shifted from other Windsor gas stations. I don't really understand why they're even considering Costco and all the reputational damage that would come to Windsor from repealing that ban. I don't really get that. And then I'm wondering if it would be possible to work with Costco or any other retailer to kind of sweeten the deal in other ways to get them to agree to not push for a gas station and still draw them in other ways. And then finally, it's my understanding that the budget issues being discussed right now are coming up in the very, very near term, whereas a new major big box store plus gas station or whatever would be several years down the road. And so I'm not sure what relationship there is between the current budget crises and a new store. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Let me try to take those in quickly in reverse order.
Please quickly, because I do want to stay on.
As far as the short-term versus long-term, I think that a new major retailer would help in the long term. I think this town council is worried both about short-term finances and long-term viability, kind of as part of their kind of duty as elected council members. So I think that kind of it's two pieces of the same, two sides of the same coin, I guess. Secondarily, I think I wanted to make sure that what I think is really driving it is the larger issue around retail sales, of which gasoline and the gasoline tax increment would be kind of not an imperative. It's not an imperative portion of the discussion. It's the larger portion of retail sales that's driving the conversation. And then I think specifically about why Costco, and I don't want to pin too much on criticism on a single business entity. And the only reason Costco is coming up specifically in this conversation today is because it's explicitly been mentioned in both the conversations around City of Santa Rosa, very direct nexus with the Costco existing station there wanting to move. And then secondarily in Windsor, it was specifically mentioned. Why the focus on that retailer specifically for Windsor, I don't know, other than those are the members, that's the type of large retailer that the town would like to attract. And so in some ways it is a symbol of what they'd like to attract. There is already large big box on the south side of town that does not include a Costco. And the thought being when one looks at other retailers within Sonoma County that fits that model, Costco is one of the leading businesses that fits those criteria.
Thanks for that clarification, BC. And just to put a point on it, there is no application in any jurisdiction right now.
No. As far as I know, there's been no actual direct discussions.
Final comment, June?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the recommendation from SCTCA has been very helpful to the cities that have adopted the gas station bans, having that recommendation. It's advisory, but also having access to staff to answer the staff's questions in the cities that often this is not their area of expertise. They are worried about, different aspects of it. So I did just want to appreciate having that recommendation and how helpful it's been to cities to adopt these policies.
Thank you. All right. One
more comment, just on the question on why Costco. I have a little bit of insight into that when we look at our regional kind of revenue models, because we look at that based on, for instance, our parks measure or our fire measure. Two that are coming up soon are the parks revenue measure renewal and the smart renewal. But when we look at all of those revenue generating things, a lot of them have to do with sales tax, right? And we're looking at declining sales tax revenues more broadly over the past couple of years, especially since the post-pandemic boom. The one that has stood out consistently as increasing in both sales tax revenue, but also just gross revenues in general, has been Costco. Whereas Walmart has seen declines, Best Buy has seen declines. All of these other large retailers have seen sometimes small declines in the case of Walmart, but huge declines in the case of other large retailers. And Windsor has a very small diversity and volume of large retailers, where one single Costco generates on average about 155 million in annual revenue. So the sales tax revenue to a locale from that would be between 1 and 3 million per year, which is huge for a town like Windsor. And on top of that, they actually pay, on average $32 an hour compared to Walmart, which is in this area probably about $18.50. So the just transition stuff, the equity component there, and it's also just been measured to be the most affordable place to shop in America, which even cheaper than Walmart. And when you add all those things up, you're like, why Costco? Well, that's a little bit of why.
Very good.
Chair Conlon, you have a
Fascinating
member
conversation.
you have a member of the public with their hand raised.
A member of the public would like to speak to this matter. Go ahead.
Jenny, when you're able to talk, go ahead.
Thank you. My name's Jenny Blaker. I was involved with the coalition opposing new gas stations from when it started in 2019. I'd like to thank BC Caps for such an excellent presentation. I went to those 2 city council meetings in Santa Rosa and Windsor, and he absolutely nailed, what happened there. I just wanted to mention that, in case you don't know, that there's been huge outcry and resistance in Novato for a few years now about Costco wanting to build a new store or expand its store and massively add to its gas station, or add a new gas station, I think, to an existing store right next to very significant wetlands. And there's just been a huge resistance and a lot of people suggesting that they could do electric charging instead of fossil fuels. And they have resisted that. They've not been interested in that. Long term, the cleanup costs are huge for gas stations that they always involve leaks and spills. Eventually, they have to be cleaned up. Many of them, even in Sonoma County, have been sort of out of use for decades. And there are areas, for example, in Cotati and in Cloverdale, where defunct gas stations have been paved over and the land that could be used commercially can't be because it's still under remediation now after 20 years or so. So it just seems a very short-sighted thing to think about this. And the other thing is that I'm not sure if you're aware, Costco's business model apparently includes that they get most of their money from membership fees, and then they lower the cost of their gasoline compared to other gas stations to attract customers, many of whom will drive miles out of the way, like those 2 city council members in Windsor, to get cheaper gas somewhere else, which just seems completely contrary to all the work that you and we are trying to do about reducing use of fossil fuels. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Blaker. Very well. One more comment on this item. We have a long list of other things to talk about today, but thank you for this.
I'll try to be brief.
Thank you.
Woody Hastings, this time I will say I'm representing Coalition Opposing New Gas Stations. But some of the things I was going to say have been said. Thank you, BC, for that. I don't need to talk about what happened there. I was also at both of those meetings, and BC captured it pretty well. And so, I mean, the main thing I want to say is that the model ordinance that you shared with it, RCPA shared with the cities back in 2021 is sound. There's nothing wrong with it. What we're hearing at both the Santa Rosa and Windsor and other places is, oh, it was too strict. Oh, we need to go back. Oh, there's problems with it. Oops. No, it's fine. All it does is prohibit the construction of new gas stations. It's easier to list, what it does, not all this other stuff about, oh, can we renovate this? Can we renovate that? All you can't do is open a new gas station or at an existing gas station, expand the fossil fuel infrastructure. It's very simple. But they say, oh, we need to, oh, am I already done? That's all right. But I will be quick. We have learned in the Novato experience and in Santa Rosa and a little bit just in Windsor, and I think Jenny just said it, that Costco is not really interested in, they've realized that the gas station gimmick is what brings it in. So they're only interested in putting in a retail store if they can also have a gas station. That's the deal. And so the last thing I want to say just real quick is that all 3 cities that haven't, Sonoma, Cloverdale, and Healdsburg, there's nothing stopping. Yes, they looked at it and they said no at the time. There's nothing stopping them from bringing it back. All 3 cities that have not adopted an ordinance in Sonoma County could still do it. So just a suggestion that maybe, a few years have gone by since any of them have really looked at it. So maybe a message, a reminder that, hey, you're the only 3, you're 3 islands where, you could get a gas station. And most people really don't want to see more gas stations. And they understand we're in a climate crisis and we need to stop building fossil fuel infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hastings. Very well. We'll move on now to item number 6. Our update on the Bay Run activities, and that'll be Anna Oliva.
Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Again, Anna Oliva with SCTCA, the Bay Area Regional Energy Network representative. And because I see some new faces here, I'm just going to give a brief refresh on what BayREN is in the context of Sonoma County. So BayREN is a coalition of the 9 Bay Area counties in the Association of Bay Area Governments, or ABAG, coordinating to offer 9 regional programs that serve the commercial, residential, and municipal sector, to offer programs that reduce greenhouse gas emissions, improve energy efficiency, and water reduction. And in Sonoma County, SCTCA serves as our representative, and so that means we work with our 9 program leads to offer local marketing and outreach efforts and implement our programs, as well as provide feedback from participants on how our programs are working and how we can continue to better serve residents of Sonoma County. And so today I'm going to keep it as short and sweet as I can because I know we're running a little over time.
We're good.
Okay. But anyway, we've been very busy over the last few months, especially with a handful of our Earth Day events that we were able to table at and give a handful of presentations for, including Gotati, Windsor, Santa Rosa, Sonoma, and Petaluma. I personally tabled at Sonoma's Trash Bash / Earth Day and had a lot of wonderful conversations with folks about our BayREN programs, as well as some of our larger transportation initiatives that we have through our agency. We also hosted an energy efficiency webinar, which typically is pretty well attended. This last one had just about 60 attendees. It included a brief overview of what energy efficiency is in your home, included an overview of our Ease Home program, which I'll touch on in just a second, and promoted our greenhouse calls, which are offered in partnership with Rising Sun Center for Opportunity, which I'll also give a brief shout out to in a moment. Also, just because Andy had mentioned the Green Business Program, always a great opportunity for that. I wanted to highlight that we often work with businesses who go through the certification process to connect them with our BayREN business program and our newer BRR program, which is a refrigerant replacement program. So we're looking forward to connecting with those businesses to help with implementation and continuing to improve energy efficiency for them, as well as ideally seeing some reduction on their utility bill. And Chair Conlon had raised a question to me previously, just wanting an update from our Codes and Standards program about the status of REACH codes in Sonoma County and how our jurisdictions are approaching that. And I just want to share, we haven't seen too much movement from our jurisdictions on REACH codes. Again, that's for the new 2025 code cycle that we just entered into. But through our Codes and Standards program, we do offer a handful of educational resources for jurisdiction staff who are interested in pursuing REACH codes, as well as general education on the new 2025 code cycle. And I did want to highlight that we will be bringing an informational presentation to our Board of Supervisors at a later date, just to provide an overview of the current landscape for REACH codes and what different jurisdictions throughout the Bay Area are doing to tackle that post AB 130. So more information to come on that.
Thank you specifically for that, because I'm noticing that there are several jurisdictions in the Bay Area, including, I believe, Napa County now, who are starting to talk about not just the new buildings and gas, which is really what slowed things down and made AB 130 popular, but in some of the other areas of REACH code applications. So electric vehicle charging, there's a long list now. There's 5 different template REACH codes, I think, that are available to the jurisdictions. So thank you for that.
Yeah. And I'll provide additional updates as I get information moving forward. Alrighty. Always happy to talk about our Ease Home program, which is our single family program through BayREN. Again, this is a moderate to low income program offered to single family homeowners and renters. in Sonoma County, and it's a direct install model focused on energy efficiency upgrades. Our core measures for the program include attic insulation, wall insulation, duct replacement, for an example. And a new core measure that we just brought into the program was induction stovetops, which is really exciting. So happy to have that as well. It also includes additional energy efficiency upgrades, more of a larger weatherization picture to it. And I think the biggest benefit to the program is it was really designed to be as simple as possible for homeowners. So again, that direct install model means that we have our own energy advisors that do a site visit, build out a scope for the homeowner and talk through it with them so they really understand what these upgrades are and what the benefits are, because I'm sure not everyone understands the value of insulation, but hopefully that's something that can be overcome through a ongoing conversation.
I believe your report said you had 120 scheduled audits and many, like maybe 100 projects in process.
Yes, so we just wrapped up our first program year, which is kind of funky. It started in March last year, so it ended March this year. And closing out that first program year, we had 107 completed projects. And since April, we have 18 new completed projects, 20 scheduled site visits, and 18 of those are moving forward to sign their participation agreement, which means they'll be going through with their installation of the upgrades in the coming
My question is, where are we doing on budget? Or do we have are we 10%, 90%?
I think we're comfortable with the budget for the program. And the way that allocations are given to each of the counties, our goal was to have about 100 programs. But because, not to brag for us, but compared to some of the other counties, we've been really successful. We've had wonderful participation. And so if we continue to see more interest, we'll be able to shift some of those around to allow more projects in Sonoma County.
That funding return to source in this program area. So Andy has a quick comment. I'll let him ask you directly on that.
Yeah, just a quick question. You mentioned the induction stoves. We've been working to get gas out of our house. And the end of that then becomes, can you remove the gas pipelines? And I don't know if Bayron provides any guidance in doing that, or if anybody can help with that. PG&E is not the best helper, let's say. So I don't know if you ever cover that when you're,
Yeah, so that's part of the conversation that our energy advisor would have with the homeowner. And I think it would depend if you're capping the gas line at your home, if induction is the last gas source that you have there. And so it really depends on a case-by-case basis. But for induction specifically, if needed, they'll talk through some wiring upgrades, capping the gas line, pulling the permit for that, and really talking through the process for that specific home. So yes, I would say overall, providing some additional support that seems to be a big gap currently.
Yeah, thank you. If anybody's going all electric, it's really important to remove those gas pipelines so that somebody doesn't redo it in the future.
That's one concern. The other concern is the safety of having an old line that in some cases may not be buried as deeply as PG&E might have originally thought it was. I know that I actually spoke to the PG&E gas service rep who was walking neighborhood in El Verano, and he was not able to tell me how deep the line was, but I was able to observe the tool he was using. And so I have a sense for how deep the pipe was there. And it doesn't meet current specifications, the 1950s era.
Yep, same.
So those are concerns, and there have definitely been houses that blew up because pipes leaked. And so it's a concern if it's another reason to migrate off of gas. I'll let Anna finish that.
Hi, Anna.
Sure.
Thank you for your presentation. I think it was last night that CARB had a big meeting about, new regulations that new buildings have to have heat pumps and so on. Wasn't that last night?
Tuesday.
You
I
guys
think we're
remember?
going to talk about that.
Oh, we are?
under
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have read our
Tanya's
agenda
report,
better.
perhaps, or later. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you.
I had a question just about the funding. How far out is it projected to last into the future? Is this generally going to go through 2026, 2027 programmatically? How far out is it funded? Is the estimate?
Yes, so right now, Bayron's current funding cycle ends in the end of 2027, and then we just submitted a new business plan, which will go for 2028 through 2035, which is pretty hard to believe, but I feel like that's right around the corner. So just to confirm, our current budget goes till the end of 2027 with the assumption that the business plan will be adopted and funding will be continued starting in 2028 for a new cycle.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then I think just along the lines of induction being a new measure, I wanted to highlight that we have an induction demonstration that we'll be hosting on May 20th at the Sonoma Clean Power Customer Service Center, no longer called the Advanced Energy Center, just as a reminder, same location. And that's going to be from 4 to 6 p.m. It's open to the general public, and we'll have opportunities for hands-on demonstration to test out induction. We'll be talking about Ease Home to answer some questions. And we will also have our greenhouse call attendees from the Rising Sun program, it's a youth program, so supporting early youth career development in the energy efficiency, energy space at large. And so they'll come in, you can sign up, and they'll do a handful of energy efficiency upgrades for you. And one of them includes an induction hob. So that's a single induction burner for your home, and they provide a compatible pan. It's a free offering. It's valued at over $160. I always love to highlight. You get a bunch of free goodies, and it's a really great way to support youth as well. But they'll be there and they'll show your little induction hob that you can get free with the kit as well. So looking forward to that. Again, that's on May 20th from 4 to 6 p.m. Open to the public. Bring your friends. Should be fun. Also want to highlight Sonoma Clean Power still does have their induction rebate available.
Thank you.
Yep. And then just a few more items, I promise. So we also have our green labeling program through Bayren, which has our home energy score. And a second part of that program is ongoing education for realtors to learn more about the energy efficiency space and really get into that pinch point of point of sale for homes. And when people tend to be doing those home upgrades. And so I wanted to highlight, we have an upcoming National Association of Realtors Green Designation training that we host through Bayren in our green labeling program, which is a 2-day in-person training free for realtors. Day 1 is really focused on building science, so building out that foundation and understanding of what is energy efficiency and what does this actually look like in a home. And what is the value of it? So really building out that vocabulary for realtors and making sure they have that base knowledge when communicating with homeowners. And then day 2 is really going to be focused on how do you pitch this to your customers and what does this look like in practice. So we're looking forward to that event. Again, it's May 19th and 20th. Day 1 is going to be hosted at the North Coast Builders Exchange, and day 2 will be at the Sonoma Clean Power Customer Service Center. Again, this is only offered to licensed realtors, so not open to the general public, but a really wonderful opportunity overall. And cost is fully covered by Bayren for this.
Do you know how many home energy scores we're getting in the Sonoma County area? Is it growing or is it?
I think we've seen an uptake in Sonoma County over the past few years. Last year, we completed, I want to say, close to 500 scores. And I can follow up to get a specific report out on our scores at our next meeting if you need.
Thank you. Just the trend is fine. Thank you.
Also for realtors, wanted to highlight, we have a green home tour coming up on June 11th. This is going to be a great opportunity to tour a green home that's been fully electrified, has solar and battery, and has done a handful of other upgrades, such as installing drought-resistant landscape and some home hardening elements. So a good opportunity to talk with the homeowner and really learn from their experience there. And it's going to be a home in Santa Rosa. Again, that's for realtors specifically. So Any realtor friends, I have a flyer here and I would be happy to connect. Again, it's a really excellent opportunity for some great ongoing education, but being able to talk with a homeowner is extremely valuable and walk through the home itself. So
Is there info online?
there is info online, and I do have a flyer of all of our events coming up for realtors in Sonoma County.
Super.
And I think I'll keep it short and sweet for there. I just wanted to give a quick shout out. I know a lot of you are really active in your communities and participate in some of your CACs. I'm always more than happy to provide a presentation on your specific jurisdiction, what's going on in the community, and always more than happy to partner on any outreach opportunities that you all have. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Jim, do you have one last thing?
Yeah, Nick does
Oh,
too.
thank you, Nick.
Go ahead.
Go ahead online, Nick.
Thank you. Is there any way for home sellers or home buyers to work with their realtor on the home energy score thing, or whatever the metric you were just talking about is? Like, if somebody's buying or selling a home right now and there's currently no I forget the name of the metric, there's currently no energy score for that home, is there a way to incorporate that quickly, or is that a little bit down the road?
Nope, that can happen right now. And I would say that, yeah, through our home energy score program that we have right now, the green labeling program offers a $250 rebate. The overall price of it, I do want to note, can range depending on the size of the home. So just so you're aware, it typically doesn't always cover the full cost. I would say it covers about half of the average cost of a home energy score. But it's a pretty quick turnaround for that. You can go to our website online and select a local home energy assessor. So I would say that's a great first step. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. And then June?
Yeah, I had a question about the Rising Sun Youth Program, and I was wondering, so is that contract and hosted by Bayron or SCTCA or SCP? And then is there a place where folks could sign up for that other than going to a live event? And then I have a last question, but let me get the answer to that first.
Okay. Yes, so that's offered in partnership through Bayron and for Sonoma County specifically through us as an organization. And so this year they're going to have an in-person site office based out of Santa Rosa, where the youth will be located through June to August, I believe. And you don't have to go to an event to sign up. I do have a flyer here with a QR code to sign up. Again, the dates for appointments will be June 23rd through July 31st. You can also find this information online, but happy to follow up with you afterwards.
Okay. And then just wondering, are the youth local or and then are there any sort of focused areas of outreach? As I know in the past, sometimes the youth were all bilingual, and I had some of them come to our home and they expressed frustration that they weren't getting to go to many homes where they were able to speak Spanish because they were bilingual English and Spanish. Just wonder if there's any sort of equity goals or outreach focus in this program this year.
Yeah, that's helpful feedback to receive. I'll share that with our program lead for that. In terms of priority areas, in-person greenhouse calls are going to be offered to Santa Rosa, Windsor. Let's see if I can rattle off all of our jurisdictions. Santa Rosa, Windsor, Rohnert Park, Cotati, Petaluma, and Sebastopol this year. And for anyone outside of those specific jurisdiction boundaries, you can receive an energy efficiency kit to your home. So I would say priority areas, anyone is welcome to participate in this. I would say it's always a goal to be able to serve underserved communities. I know right now we're specifically trying to serve seniors just as an overall goal for our agency. Yeah, being able to support bilingual households is always a goal as well.
Good point. And thank you, Anna, for great summary of all the activities available through Bayron. With that, we taken public comment on this item. I don't think there's any public comment on this item. Then I'll move on to our next topic, number 7, update on our Sonoma climate mobilization strategy.
Thank you, Chair Conley. I do have a set of slides. Don could bring this up. And while Don is doing that, part of my presentation is to request help from CAAC members to get the word out about our climate survey. So I'm going to pass these cards around. Please take as many as you like. And this is just a short slide deck. So as you may recall, our board gave us the go-ahead to do an update to the mobilization strategy back in February.
Right.
And whoop. Uh-oh. I'm not sure if am I making it? Okay, it's me. All right. Sorry. So I'd like to give just a quick update on where we are with the mobilization strategy update. And I have here on the screen, just as a reminder, the key strategies that are in our current document. And the strategy was adopted by our board in 2021. So we're here 5 years later, and it's a good time to take a look at these strategies as well as our goals.
Hey, Tanya, can I ask
Yes.
a quick clarifying
Yes.
question? Which is, what does carbon neutral mean?
To us, carbon neutral means reducing our emissions by 80%. And then
What is our emissions?
the countywide emissions. And then increasing carbon sequestration to make up for that 20%. So that's our current definition and goal. And
So every sector of the county?
we did not set specific targets by sector, but if you look at the data, we basically said 80% in total. And so that's one of the issues that we need to address with the next update to the strategy, because when we look at we're in the process of evaluating all the climate action plans that have been adopted, and they all have differing goals. And so it's very clear that as a county, we're not going to achieve this 2030 goal unless we do something different. And so that's really one of the objectives in this process, is to get an understanding of where we're at currently and what adjustments do we need to make to the 2030 goal. So here is a brief overview of the project scope. So we're going to report on progress made on climate action, which we were just talking about then, and update the strategies, goals, and objectives to align with the current status, as well as our local and regional plans. So we really want to connect the dots between what's happening at the regional level. So for example, the Bay Area Air District recently adopted its Bay Area Climate Action Plan and has some really good strategies in there that we want to help implement here in Sonoma County. And likewise, each of our jurisdictions, for the most part, there's a few exceptions, have also updated their climate action plans since the mobilization strategy was adopted in 2021. We also want to look for any best practices or new solutions that might not have been in place when we did the strategy back in 2021, and then align our targets with state, regional, and local goals. And the last bullet, I think, is really important. Through this process, we want to identify high-impact multi-jurisdictional projects that we could go after funding to implement here in the county. And here is our schedule for the update. We are trying to move through this as quickly as we can, with our end goal of presenting our final strategy to the board in June of 2027. And I've highlighted the 2 areas that we're currently focused on. So BC, and he'll give you an update on this in a few minutes, is working on updating our GHG inventory. And as I mentioned, we're doing a review of all the local plans. And then we have started community engagement. We're at the very beginning of that process. And the survey that I shared with you on the cards is one thing that we are doing to gather input from the community. And this is the same survey with a few minor changes that we produced back it was a couple of years ago when we did the Climate Protection Initiative. And so we're really wanting to look at trends over time, which is why we're asking the same questions. And then we also have been very active in Earth Day events. So Ross was quite busy in the month of April, as well as Anna and myself, attending a variety of different Earth Day events, sharing information about not only our climate work, but also our transportation work, and then promoting the survey and really asking folks to help fill that survey out. So that is what I wanted to share with you all today and would welcome any questions or feedback that you have. So I'll turn it back to the chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's clear we need to be doing this, considering that we set such ambitious goals and have not been able to make progress apace to those goals. I think that feedback we heard already that subsector goals are probably a no-brainer at this point. We know we're heavily transportation dependent, or the majority of our goal is in transportation, but that doesn't mean the other sectors can slide. Residential existing buildings is a real big piece of the pie too in this county, and it's expensive to treat with that. We now have great programs at Bayron that are available, but not as much budget as would be necessary to really move the needle in that sector either. So it'll be good to go through this process of updating these goals and trying to figure out what we're going to do. The other thing that occurs to me, though, is that what we have seen move the needle on a macro greenhouse gas emissions rate is when economic activity is severely curtailed, as we saw after the wildfires and after the pandemic. And I think if we continue to just project straight line growth, we're not paying attention to those recent events in our history. And so maybe being prepared with contingencies would be something to think about at this next set of planning horizons. I'm interested in other comments from the commission, from the committees. Andy, you have a comment?
One of the things I'm interested in as this progresses is the tension between what a city council has voted for carbon neutral by 2030 and what the consultant has come back with in the climate action plan, which is often 2045 to meet the state goals. They just kind of ignored the local goals completely. And I'm just curious if you can speak to how to address that tension.
It's a great question. And I think the tension is really there because the consultants are trying to present an action plan that they believe the city has the resources to implement. And so, that's one of the areas that we've been working on in SCTCA is trying to figure out how do we bring in more resources and funding to actually help jurisdictions implement even their current plans with the goals that may not be as ambitious as we would like to see. So we're really trying to figure out how do we bridge that gap between what we know we need to do to meet the urgency of the climate crisis and what we have the resources currently to tackle. So yes, that is a big challenge, and I don't have a good answer for you. So
yeah, it's almost like you're asking for a Mamdani scale resource program, because we're finding that the current mechanisms in California are not producing the resources proportional to the need. I'm not sure how to think about that beyond such a comment. Chris?
Well, just from my experience working on the Climate Resilience Comprehensive Action Plan at the county, the CRCAP, which I won't tell you the story of why they had to change that acronym. They had to add a C in there for obvious reasons. In our plan, when we did our inventory and everything, all the gray infrastructure, all the hard infrastructure, the electrification, fleet, all of that to meet just neutrality by 30, I think the total cost was about 45 million. And the board did not have the appetite nor the resources to do that at the time. I think we bit off a portion of that. But then when you read through the report and the inventory, the next two biggest opportunities to meet the same goal but earlier were in the waste stream space, the compost facility space, the food stream space, both in VMTs of what we're actively doing now being mitigated, but also in in the sequestration component of that. But that combined with nature-based solutions, which in the county, we have a lot more resources for that, of optimizing treatments on the land, whether it's grazing or fire resilience, reforestation, forest management, wetlands, those kinds of things. But even there was a 9 acres of urban greening component that there was a huge metric, like the county, I think we have 32,000 metric tons per year of CO2 output. So to meet that, it was going to take 40 something million and all these investments to do that via hard infrastructure and electrification. To meet that via nature-based solutions, it was going to cost about 1/10 of that, and potentially, depending on your metric, be able to be achieved in year 2 to be carbon neutral for the county business. So I think looking at if there's things we can't afford and the revenue stream for that, especially the federal resources have dried up, and I don't think that that's going to change until there's a significant political shift. If we know that to be true, well, then what are other things that we can focus on that achieve the same result of either, drawdown, sequestration, VMTs, those kinds of things, while not, costing as much, knowing that we still need to do the other things and the hard infrastructure things. But it's just, it was fascinating to see just the scale of difference between some of these sectors in the county's plan, knowing that we just couldn't afford to do the big charrette of the expensive options now. And all the grants that we had been pursuing basically dried up, including all of our fire resilience grants of 50 million in FEMA grant. Everything just was gone overnight. So we just have to course correct without losing the goals and the outcomes that we want.
Right. Thank you for that dimensional information. Do we have more on this now? I think that the floor is open. Tanya's office is open for input over this survey period. And I hope that you'll all contribute substantive comments to help come up with a good climate mobilization strategy update. With that, public comment on this item. I see a hand in the public. Please come forward.
Is there a deadline on comments, Tanya?
We haven't set a deadline yet for the survey, so I think at least a couple of months.
Please state your name.
Hi, I'm Maureen Bentley and a resident of Santa Rosa and a cheerleader for this committee. I'm so grateful that you are here and doing the things that you are doing. It's so vitally important, as we all know. And I want to encourage keeping our public message about standards and goals as high as possible, especially in the view of the funding challenges that are so misfortunate and working against us. But Sonoma County is known for being environmentally strong and supporting policies like this statewide. We're kind of a standard bearer for environmentalism. And I think it's important for us to keep this public message as strong as possible, because if we are forced to drop goals and standards, this could lead to members of the public misinterpreting that, oh, gee, maybe this isn't as important as I thought it was. Maybe my individual action and my support of particular policies isn't all that important after all. So, although the challenges are greater than ever, the efforts must be greater than ever. And this whole committee action is so inspirational, and I'd like to see it stay that way and avoid any kind of action that could be perceived as defeatist. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Maureen. Very well. And we'll close this item and move on to our number 8, update on other SCTCA climate change activities. BC's back with us.
Hello again. Just a couple more quick updates and a couple of items that I think will help connect the dots between some of our agenda items today. First, following up on Tanya's presentation she just gave, she mentioned that we are updating our greenhouse gas inventory. So I'm currently working on that, analyzing 2024 data for countywide community emissions data. So I'm about halfway through that process, have a good handle on building energy, currently working on transportation, have a good handle on solid waste, We are working with an outside consultant to provide some additional input into our water and wastewater calculations to confirm that we're doing that correctly. And the final sector is agriculture. Hoping to have those results back for presentation. I believe we're talking about presenting those to our board at our July board meeting, which would be just about the exact same time that this body would meet again. So I'll be able to present those results at the next meeting. Secondarily, tied in with that, a secondary but related topic is currently our current emissions, our current inventory. We have the inventory data for a number of the past inventories, and we've built, working with our data analyst here, we have an online dashboard that presents that information. It's very, I think, very proud of that work that's been done. I want to acknowledge, though, that dashboard and that current work really is just focused on emissions. It's focused on the problem, not about a forecast, not about a reduction pathway, not about indicators. And so in parallel, we're also investigating some additional software that we could use that would help round out that package. And I believe I've reported on that to this body before. We're currently investigating the ClearPath 2.0 software from ICLEI. Also have been connected up with a small consultant developer team who were in discussions around a potential online relational database and some tools that we may be able to employ there. And then also through a connection with Antoinette Freeman, the sustainability coordinator at City of Sonoma. We're going to get a presentation, I believe, next week on some additional software from another software provider to kind of better understand what's out there. So I'm hoping that when we come back, that is a kind of secondary effort that will come into place after we have the emissions data. The key focus right now is updating the inventory. And then secondarily, we'll look at additional public outreach tools that can be used that would be available on the website.
Excellent.
The third and final thing I wanted to mention, and this is in relation, I think, to what you had raised earlier, the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, which oversees the majority air quality emissions throughout the majority of San Francisco Bay Area. Their jurisdiction covers the southern portion of Sonoma County, so it doesn't cover Healdsburg and Cloverdale, but covers the southern portion. They've been working for several years now to adopt new rules that would limit the installation of natural gas HVAC systems for heating and cooling and natural gas systems for hot water heating. And basically, those rules are slated for zero NOx emissions. HVAC systems would be required as of January 1st, 2029, and zero NOx emissions heat pump water heaters or water heaters are currently scheduled to be mandated as of January 1st, 2027. Two updates on that are very current.
January.
What's that? Next January. The Air Quality Management District Board is currently discussing, and I say currently because the hearing is actually continued. So it's actually, they met last week and will meet again next week to discuss a set of flexibility measures that they are looking to adopt that would have to do with cases of financial hardship, either for very low-income households or for installations of upgrade of equipment that are very high cost. They're looking for additional flexibility measures that would be around space constraints if one does not have the kind of physical space to install the new equipment that's mandated, and potential flexibility measures if the equipment that would need to be installed is actually not commercially available. And this applies, I think, really to some of the very smaller hot water heaters where there's actually not a heat pump equivalent right now. So those are all being discussed. Oh, and then the last piece that is was announced this week was the board is also considering a staff recommendation for delay of the heat pump water heater rules, or the water heater rules that are scheduled to go into effect in January 2027. There's a proposal to delay those until October 1st, 2027. So that would be a 9-month delay. mainly for the reasons to get these flexibility measures into place and the tracking mechanisms around how to track all of that equipment. So.
And support enforcement as well.
And support enforcement. So the Air Quality Board met on Wednesday, had a very long discussion, took hours of public comment, but ran out of time for discussion and feedback to staff. That meeting has been continued until this upcoming Wednesday. I believe it's Wednesday I think it's at 10 a.m., in which the board will pick that discussion back up and provide feedback to staff, input to staff, and then the final decision on those flexibility measures and any delay would come back to the Air Quality Board as of September of this year. So in September, we will know what the final landscape is for those rules to either be adopted as of January, to become effective in January, or to become effective next September. And the last piece I wanted to mention to tie this in with the presentation on BayREN and services and incentives that are available, because there is a Bay Area wide push now to train heat pump water heater installers and to get the public ready to install those. Sonoma Clean Power has an imminent announcement that will of additional incentive funding that will become available as of June 1st of this year, in just a few weeks, that would increase their incentives that they're giving out for the installation of heat pump water heaters. So that's something that was just mentioned by their director of sustainability programs at the board meeting this week. So that's something, if anybody is looking to install a heat pump water heater, the incentives from Sonoma Clean Power will be increasing on that. And that's available for all Sonoma County residents who get their service through Sonoma Clean Power. Even though the bill comes from PG&E, it's for it's for customers of Sonoma Clean Power.
Great.
Those are the updates I have to kind of draw some of the connections between
Lots
this.
going on, BC. Thank you for that. We are at our
quick question.
But I will invite anybody that needs to leave to go ahead, but we're going to continue here.
Just wondered if for the Air Board meeting, whether they close public comment or whether they will allow public comment on Wednesday prior to the discussion.
No, that meeting was chaired by our supervisor, Linda Hopkins, who is the chair of the Air Quality District. She was very specifically, they closed public comment. So when they come back for discussion on Wednesday, they will start right in with board discussion and comments.
Excellent. So lots going on. I think with that, we'll close this item and bring ourselves to announcements from members of the committee. I guess I skipped public comment on BC's report. I should allow an opportunity for any public comment. Seeing none, we'll go to announcements.
So real quick, just for folks that are interested, on Saturday, May 23rd, Occidental Arts and Ecology is going to have a tour of their big solar installation on their parking lot and the storage. They have a bit of a microgrid. So that's going to be at 11 a.m. on May 23rd. And if you're interested, it's oaec.org. If you have accessibility needs or any questions, you can contact them to get more details, or you can just show up at 11 a.m. on the 23rd. And it goes from 11 to 12:30, the tour.
I wanted to, we're seeing no other announcements around the table. I wanted to thank staff for including in our packet the content that's usually available to the board. Fascinating list of legislative items that we're currently engaged in, as well as the transit discussions, as well as the Redwood Bike Share request for new funding. Lots of more information in our packet if you want to get into the beyond the details that were presented to us orally today. And if you have comments on legislation, of course, you're welcome to attend the board meeting and submit those comments during that section of the meeting. Andy.
Yeah, BC mentioned he was looking into agricultural elements of the greenhouse. I'm not going to ask a question. I don't have to come up. But I was just going to put on your radar, there's a bill called AB 2112 by Assemblymember Baines that's going to set composting requirements for the state. And I think that'll impact the agricultural aspects of things.
Great. And then I encourage everyone to pay, as an announcement, I encourage everyone to pay attention to the primary race for governor. In particular, I was noticed Sammy Roth did a piece in his Climate Colored Goggles blog where he talked about the obvious choice for governor, at least if you're a climate voter. So I encourage people to educate yourselves and make a wise decision in these upcoming races. I had a list of announcements, but it's time and I don't have them right in front of me. So that's enough for me to, oh, I did want to point out that the SR 37 Resilient 37 committee met this week and they've done a survey, and the finding that popped out to me, a survey of users of the existing roadway between Vallejo and Novato. And what would you do if a toll was imposed? 55% said they would seek an alternate route. Or they would consider seeking an alternate route. Now, if like only 25% of that 55% actually does so, that would put a lot of pressure on the other routes. And so we in Sonoma County need to start to anticipate that that could be the impact of actually all of that investment in the raising the roadway, expanding the roadway. And we're aware of it. I know our former supervisor raised this issue, and that's one of the reasons why the survey was conducted. So hopefully we'll all continue to pay attention to that important resiliency project as well. Without any further announcements, I'll call for a motion to adjourn. And well, we'll just adjourn. Thank you so much.